Do you feel that you start off all your conversations with new clients, kind of educating them on?
Well, I do think the one thing that has happened is the notion of green or LEED, or it has made the consciousness of the public better, so that when people come to me, they are actually concerned about energy conservation. And I don't have to educate them in the notion that they want to preserve or have some sense of energy conservation. The problem is they don't know how to get there, and it's somewhat confusing. And it's not confusing because they're confused. It's confusing because it is confusing. There are many programs, the rebate programs, which I'm sure you're familiar with. There are different ways of achieving sustainability. There's LEED certification, there's N-Star, there's there's passive house that the Germans are very good at, all of which are different ways of approaching the problem. So I think before you start talking about particular programs, you need to talk about fundamentals with clients, such as, in the very first instance, siting. Let's say it's a new house. I mean, if it's an existing house, there's different issues involved. But if it's a new house, why not, for instance, take advantage of proper siting to save energy? It's so fundamental. It's been done for thousands of years, and somehow we've forgotten that because we've become used to using mechanical systems to overcome any other heating or cooling issue we might have. So siting, for instance, is fundamental. The second issue is proper insulation of the home, which has in leaps and bounds gotten better than it was, say, when I started my practice 30 years ago. The third is windows. Windows, of course, are the largest energy losers in any house, if you will, and they too have gotten much, much better than they were when I began practice. But you can, for instance, now have a window with an R9, and for lay purpose terms, that's a measure of energy loss or resistance, if you will. When I started practice, the R value of a window might have been 1.5. You can now have a window that's almost a 9. And that is essentially 7 or 8 full times better than it was. So if you can save that much more energy by using proper windows, why not do it? Those are only 3. I mean, the fourth might be more efficient heating and cooling systems, which again have made leaps and bounds. I tell clients that if you can just do those 3 or 4 things, you really don't have to worry about LEED certification or Energy Star programs. Only if you want to, for some reason, get certain certifications for rebates. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's a perfectly good and attainable goal. But you shouldn't really start there, because I think it confuses design with programs, green programs.
Are you seeing people take advantage of those rebates and incentives?
Yeah, I mean, speaking for myself, I'm now putting solar panels on a house that I own down in Marshville. The incentives are incredible, really, when you think about it. The panel efficiencies now are twice what they were 5 or 10 years ago. So that means that you can have half the amount of panels on the roof and get the same as one example. You could put twice as many on too. You're going to get payback periods in the range of 4 years, which is, for me, I think, extraordinary. You're going to get essentially SREC credits, I think I have that right, from the state, which are carbon credits essentially, which will, for the next 10 years, essentially offset not just the cost of my electricity, but also give me, so to speak, money in the bank. So, speaking personally, I think there's nothing wrong with looking at rebate. I had an energy assessment of the house where all the light bulbs were replaced, etc. I mean, these are seemingly small programs, but each one of them adds up, I think, to a...
Oh, we're big fans of the energy assessment.
Yeah.
We're constantly telling our viewers that should be the first step that they take before they undergo any major renovations. make sure the house is properly sealed, find out what's available.
Yeah, and it's you know, every little light bulb makes a difference, I like to say to people. But again, there is a kind of confusion in the air about, or a lack of clarity about how to approach these issues. And I think often you really want to go back to basics when you start talking about these things.